was only trust.
Like a nice business.
And we don't know.
Yeah, I have no idea. Intimidation. And that's it. Good to go.
Okay.
And then they join them. He's been bringing this.
All right, so let's call to order. Does anybody need to be in a different spot? It's like a 5-second warning. Andrew, run. Okay. And we're ready, Lucas? Okay. So let's call to order the Central Oregon Community College Board of Directors meeting for Wednesday, October 8th. And we'll jump right into the agenda. First we'll do the native lands acknowledgement, which I actually didn't see in my packet. We have a
I could also pull up the video on YouTube.
I love the video. That's actually,
That'd be great, but I would challenge you to just doing it
Memory.
by memory, yeah, I bet you could.
I like the video though.
I do too.
And we're approved to use this at our meeting, correct? It was approved last year, I believe. Yeah, okay. Good.
I'm like, because
Did we
this
have
happened. No, I wasn't.
Okay. Never felt less helpful.
Yeah.
I think Chris.
We can
yeah.
find other time.
Okay.
Like food knowledge, beautiful land. Are the original homelands, platform, known as the or people, and from foster people. The tribes who implemented acres of this land to let government. The treaty is popular and regular and customary fishing, hunting, and gathering rights. As a result of this treaty, there remains 572,000 acres, which used to create the Warm Springs Indian Reservation.
In 1879, all people, Ohio people were placed on the Warm Springs Reservation by the United States government. In the years following, more numerous people were forcibly moved to the Warm Springs Reservation. It wasn't until 1937, in conjunction with the Indian Reorganization Act, that the three distinct tribes became known as the Confederated Tribes of Warm Springs. It is also important to note that the Klamath Trail ran north through this region to the Great Reliable Falls Trading Ground. Descendants of these original peoples are thriving members of our community today. We acknowledge and thank the original stewardship of the land.
The COCC land acknowledgement is a living document and may change over time as we continue to learn more. It was developed in collaboration by enrolled members of the Confederated Tribes of Warm Springs, enrolled members of the Klamath tribes, and folks here at the college. While land acknowledgements share true history, they are meant to be more than words. Acknowledgement itself is a small gesture. It's more meaningful when it's coupled, building relationships, and taking action. If you scan the QR code on the screen, it will take you to the COCC Native Americans Program webpage, where you will find examples of how you can get involved. We would like to be the environment creating this book. You can also find this list by going directly to the program webpage listed on this.
Thank you, Lucas. And that video is just so well done. Okay, so now we'll move on to the roll call.
Make me work for it. All right, we've got Erica Scathold.
Here.
Jim Porter. Here. Laura Kraska Cooper, I believe, is online.
Here, I'm here.
Yes, she is.
Has anyone heard from Joe?
So he may be logging in later. He's going to try.
Okay, Alan Unger.
Here.
Aaron Murs,
Here,
and Aaron Morgan.
Here.
We've got Greg Pereira,
Here.
Zach Poon.
Zach's
I know he's traveling.
At the
conference, yeah.
Okay.
he won't be here.
Laura Bomey,
Here.
we got the comfy chair over there. Alicia Moore,
Here.
Anne Marie Hamlin,
Here.
Michael Lalonde,
Here.
Chris Haslett. Here. Josh Clausen. Here. Scott, forgive me if I'm gonna butcher your last name. Olszewski?
Olszewski.
Olszewski.
Yeah.
Okay.
Here.
Paul Taylor,
Here.
Kyle Matthews. Here. I think we got everybody.
Okay, thank you, Lucas. Do we have any agenda changes? Okay, thank you. And Lucas, do we have any public comment?
We do have one comment. Sarah Henson, who is online, is gonna speak, and Sarah, I think you're good to go to unmute and talk to the board.
Great. Thank you, Lucas. Hopefully you can all hear me all right.
Yes.
Great. Thank you. I just wanted to take a brief moment of your time at this meeting to introduce myself formally to you. I know I come to your meetings and I've had the opportunity to talk with many of you individually, but I realized I've never actually formally introduced myself. So hi, I'm Sarah Henson. I'm a faculty member here. I've been in the social science department for over 15 years now, but I come to you today in my role as the Faculty Forum President. So the Faculty Forum is our bargaining unit for full-time and adjunct faculty at COCC. We have about 162 members in our union, or in our bargaining unit rather. For most of our existence, we have been a local independent union. So you may have heard that last spring, our members, actually our bargaining unit, overwhelmingly voted to affiliate with the 13 other community colleges who are part of the Oregon Education Association, which is our state affiliation of the National Education Association. And so you may be curious to know how that might change our relationship. So I wanted to come and introduce myself and also just address that and let you know that it is absolutely the aim and intention of the Faculty Forum to continue to maintain the collaborative and collegial, solution-focused relationship that we've had with the administration and the college thus far. We aim to be a partner in finding solutions and achieving the goals that we all share, right? And those are things like having supportive and sustainable, equitable workplace and wages for all of our employees, for having high quality, accessible educational opportunities for our students, and serving our community. I think we also absolutely share Dr. Pereira's vision of being a first choice college. We hope that COCC is a first choice college for our faculty and our staff. So should you ever want to know more about the forum or meet our executive team, I invite you to call on us. We're happy to answer your questions or to talk with you further. I also want you to know I come to these meetings because I find great value, and the forum find great value in understanding the context and scope of the kinds of issues and problems that you all are discussing at this level, and because we really value the insights and perspectives that our board members bring. So thank you for allowing me to come. So I'll just close out by saying, please feel free to let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Okay, and so that concludes our public comments.
Yes.
Very good. All right.
Is there
Something in the room? Oh, okay. Okay, so we'll move on. So we're at the consent agenda. We have our regular meeting minutes. Do we have any questions or comments? Okay,
Move approval as presented.
thank you. Ryan.
Second.
Thank you, Jim. Okay, any other questions, comments? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Thank you, Laura. Okay, and none opposed. Okay. And so now we're at information items. So we've got some really interesting information in here that I'm looking forward to. First up, the monthly budget status. Michael, do you have anything you'd like to say?
I don't know if we're going to get into it a little later in the meeting, but we have heard from HAC that they're looking at just over a 5% slash on state funding for community colleges potentially that would happen for the remainder of this year. For us, that means a even bigger slash because of the funding formula. For us, that would look like a 3.1% decrease in state funding for the rest of the year, or $1.5 billion over a biennium. So we are going to work on that problem come Monday as a senior leadership team, and we'll probably have a lot more to discuss on this later. I don't think it's 100% certain, thankfully.
And Michael, if I could just make sure I heard something right, I believe you said 1.3% in state funding, but I think it was 13% in state funding that would equate to for COCC. Is that right?
I meant to say 13%.
Right.
If I said 13.1, I think is the exact number, decrease.
Okay. Well, thank you for the update, Michael.
Go shoot the messenger.
What you called in.
Safety from distance. Smart. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so any questions or comments for Michael before we move on? Okay. We have the new hire reports. Laura, anything you'd like to say or just the usual? Okay.
Just in the board packet, but let me know if you have questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any questions, comments? Moving on. Okay, so now we're to a Lapine High School update, which we're very grateful to be here in this
Great.
beautiful library
Good to have you
that's
here, yeah.
Halloween themed.
Mhm.
Am I
It's very
seated at the
festive.
wrong spot?
No, you're in the right spot. That's fine. Yes.
Nobody else should be in that chair if you were.
Okay, good. I'm probably gonna do the slides from here, so I can just sit here and do it too, or should I
You
just
want
come
me
up
to
and,
Follow along.
if you don't mind? Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, so
Would you mind saying your last name again?
yeah, sure, Olszewski.
Olszewski, so
Yeah.
Principal Olszewski.
Yes,
will be
that's
giving
right.
that
Don't
there.
look at it though, because you'll forget how to say it if you
Okay.
make it. Back up to the first one and I'll go from there. I'm gonna try not to take too long. I'm gonna be mindful of when I get excited about something, I can start talking and forget about
We are here to listen,
timing. Great.
so we are excited to hear.
Stopwatch and watch it, so I'm paying attention. If it has to be that way, that's fine too. All right, great. Thank you, Lucas. You know the next one. All right, it didn't line up the same way that it does on mine, but that's okay. So I just wanted to give you a little background about Lapine High School and sort of our philosophy. We have some of these phrases that mean something to the people who are part of our school community. Right now, I'm going to point at that blue and gold, proud and bold. I apologize again that it seems a little misaligned, but blue and gold, proud and bold is a phrase that's been around at Lapine High School for a long time. It sort of went into dormancy. We brought it back, and blues are academics, gold is character, proud is community, and bold is confidence. We're tying a lot of our different school-wide events and recognition and themes to that. Every Hawk, every day has been going since I got here, the first year that I was here. And we try to just make sure, I call that my North Star. If we're having a difficult situation, we're working through something, whether it's a student, a staff member, family, just try to remind ourselves that we're here to just support everybody who's part of the Hawk community every day. And then I typically follow that up by saying, not when it's easy, but when it's hard. It's easy to say that when it's easy. So just recognizing the dignity of every Hawk, staff, students, and families. I typically think in this dichotomy of important versus meaningful. I think about important whenever I have to renew my driver's license Very important that I do it on time, fill out the form correctly. I need my driver's license. I can do about 6 other things while I'm doing that as well. I've written the same information a number of places. Meaningful is when I was sitting on a hill in New Brunswick, New Jersey, as a young man with my father next to me. I was learning to drive a stick and I was rolling backward toward the truck behind me. I wasn't thinking about anything else. I was completely in flow, 100% possessed by the meaning of what I was trying to do. And I use this as a framework to just say, are we assigning our students a lot of things that we say are important? Or are we making sure that they're having experiences that are meaningful, where time disappears and they know exactly what they're trying to do? Meaningful, again, that can really happen in any course. Our skilled teachers can do that through any topic. But it aligns really readily with the arts. If you go into, performance arts, the arts in general, our manufacturing, construction, welding. When students do internships, apprenticeships, practicums, we have an ROTC program that does a lot of community service and leadership. We have a criminal justice program that we align with you on, forestry, and our advanced courses. Our students are in that experience of meaningfulness when they're there. And I bring that up just to set up to talk about some of our goals and how they align with COCC. So our number 2 goal is to upgrade, our number 1, by the way, is to increase graduation rate every year. If it's not 100%, then our goal is to increase graduation rate, which over the last 2 years, we have raised it by just under 20 points, 19 points in the last 2 years. So that's been great. And we're feeling very hopeful about the report that'll come out in January as well.
Will you remind us of the graduating class size?
We're always around 100, typically a little bit less. We
Okay,
have a bigger class coming up. That'll be closer to 100, but we've been in the 80s, 90s
okay.
the last
Thank
several
you.
years. Yeah, great. So our goal really is to the space that is right over here to my left and behind some of you there, that building is our CTE space. That's where we have our manufacturing program, our woods and welding. We've got our criminal justice out there as well. We also have our 3D art program out there, meaning ceramics and printmaking and everything. But we really have a goal of upgrading that space. It is outdated. It needs some help. We had a grant in 2017 before I was here that got the manufacturing program up and going again after it had been idle. But it needs some help out there, and those are our most popular programs. They're some of our most expensive programs. A number of you who are even in the room have been here last December and January when we were hosting CTE vision meetings about what we're trying to do out there. We've hit a little bit of snags right now in that we don't yet have approval from our school district to try to get private funds for that space, and we're trying to work through that because we do have a lot of people who came to those meetings and are really invested, and we've got some big money donors, but we really want to do that. For me, that's the heart of meaningful education out there. So that's a big goal for us, and I just bring it up everywhere, so I'm bringing it up here today. Well, I should maybe point out one there. We'd love to add health occupations as a dual credit pathway in partnership with COCC. We have a great partner in the Lapine Community Health Center. We have St. Charles is right here as well, and we would love to add that. Our staffing is very tight right now, as you know, and you just heard in here, budgets are tight right now, but that is an enduring goal for us, and we're hopeful maybe next year would be the year. All right, also that's our career pathways. There are folks in this room also who already talked to me about that. We call it a tiered community engagement model. So what we're saying is we need to get the community into the school so that our kids see that the community cares, and the community, then everyone that comes in has a positive experience, is an ambassador for us and a potential connection for a kid and a pathway when they graduate or even before. So our bottom tier is guest speakers. We've got over 30 different organizations that have committed to do 2 hours, an hour in one trimester, an hour in another, to come into our careers course and to speak with kids. And we're bringing back some alumni on that. Our second tier would be job shadows, anywhere from a couple hours to a full week, bringing in those same people who are doing our guest speakers, also setting up some job shadows. And then our third one, internships, apprenticeships, and practicums. And we've done some of that with COCC. We also have the South County Collaborative, who we have a representative from here who does a great job of finding internships and apprenticeships for our kids. So you can see that our goal is this year to weave that in with our higher ed and career path skills and personal finance. we have started to bring those speakers in on that bottom tier right now. Let's go through some partnerships that we have as a school with you as COCC. So we have a few college now dual credit courses. So we've got those 3 courses in criminal justice. And then we have, we're in our 3rd year now of having the education courses, Ed 101A and B. Our largest group in there this year, we have over 20 kids in there, which for a school of just over 400 is really good. And it's just an excellent group. They do the Ed 101A, get the classroom piece, and then they do a 60-hour practicum in Lapine Elementary, Roslyn Elementary, and Lapine Middle School. So then we're trying to inspire those younger kids, just as you see that we've got the little Hawks cheer out here. Well, when they're there, they're thinking someday I want to be Lapine Hawks cheer. We want that same thing for kids coming through. I want to be that high school student who came in and taught the class because they were in college while in high school, and I want to be a teacher. So we do also have a few articulations with other institutions, but they're not here. All right, so we did a pre-apprenticeship in construction in partnership with COCC. In 2024, it was really successful. Well, we graduated kids on a Friday night, and then we said you start on Monday in a paid internship here on campus before they go out into the world and forget about us. We had 11 graduates complete the hours, did a lot of work with Habitat for Humanity across the street. Kids were really excited. Some kids who had never even swung a hammer before told me, well, now I know how to build a staircase. That's amazing. And you walk on it first. You know, but this past year in June, we did it again, but something happened with the mix of who we had there where we had a lot of kids say they committed and they sort of fell away, but we did still have some students who completed it this June, which was great. They built several sheds, they earned industry certifications, and they still earned a stipend. So what we're gonna do is just try to make that happen again and see what can we do to make sure that we've got a really tight commitment for this June coming up. We also have we tried to launch a contracted course sequence with COCC this year. We were working with Jared Green, and we also had a partner with a local auto body shop who said you can use our space free of charge. And we had that sequence of courses there. We got started, and it's something again, just kind of like what happened in June, where we had kids who said they were committed and then sort of fell off. We're having discussions around that. Helen, who is here, is working with me to see if we can do a relaunch in December. I think we've got a good plan. We did sort of some exit interviews with some of the kids who left and said, what would it take and what was wrong? So we're going to try to launch it in December, which for us, that's second trimester because this high school is on the trimester schedule as you are. So we're going to try to relaunch that. We're talking about College Now expansion. We've got for welding, we're looking at manufacturing 100 and 103. And then we're working with Brian and Kara to see if we can get those going soon, even this year. It looks like they line up well for articulation with our welding program. We have a full-time welding teacher and a possible addition of 105. We've also had some initial discussions around forestry as well. We would look at hoping to add those in next year. Then COCC, you have LEAD and Avanza, these programs. So Marcus Legrand and Raquel Vasquez came to talk to me about those programs. And if you're not familiar with them, they are programs focused on college prep from cultural perspectives. And even though we have a very small population that might represent where each of those programs were initially coming from, it really could line up very well with our leadership program. And we've got such a huge group of kids at Forecast for Leadership this year, and they're doing so much that we're looking at even this year doing a 10-week program, 1 hour a week, and combining LEAD and Avanza curriculum and having Marcus and Raquel come down and work with our kids on those programs as well. There you go. Did I keep it under 10 minutes? 10:45. All right. That's good. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's amazing the diversity of a welding teacher just exclusive for that.
Yeah, hired him this summer, the summer that I started here, so I hadn't really been principal yet. We found him and hired him for just a couple classes, expanded him to 2/3 time, then 3/4, and for the last 2 years, he's been full-time because it's so popular. Yeah.
Scott, how much funding do you need to bring some of the standards up to a little better out there in your CTE?
Yeah, and I don't know that any number I give you isn't a super formal assessment because we haven't been at that point yet. But from talking with people in the industry, 1.5 to 2 million.
Hmm.
So that's big, but when we're thinking about a school bond or a levy, it's not that big. Any other questions? How to say my last name?
I love that you said, I did the phonetic, yeah, because I heard you say it the first time and then I went to go read it and it's.
Yeah, you don't want to look
I
at
don't
it.
know
once
if
you
you're
say it.
It's like-
If people say, is that Olszewski, I always say might as well.
Yeah.
Great, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. This was awesome.
Am I supposed to leave?
No,
No, you can stay. Welcome.
but you also can if you want. So
Okay.
no pressure.
Yeah.
You're good.
Okay, so thank you again, and we'll move on to the artificial intelligence at COCC.
Can I give a brief introduction to that? Okay?
That would be wonderful.
Thank you. So you might all recall that in our June board meeting, one of the topics that came up that the board was asking questions about in particular was on AI. And so the request was made for an AI presentation. So I went to Anne Marie to ask who might be willing to give it. And she suggested Christopher Hazlitt, who's part of, I think, co-chair of the artificial intelligence.
Correct.
Yep.
Correct.
And so we were really excited to bring him in to answer some of those questions and bring some information. But before we let him talk, I want to rave about Christopher Hazlitt because I have been here 90 days. I have seen him teaching in Prineville, in Bend. I missed him at Deer Ridge, but he was coming later that day. And then you
run by.
you saw me. Well, they were chasing me. It was like embarrassing. But and then today I saw him walk in and I said, I can't believe you drove down. He was like, I wouldn't miss it. So we have amazing faculty and staff, but he puts in incredible effort. So the fact that he was willing to come here tonight too, I think really speaks volumes. So thank you.
It'll confront you that way. Just before I start in, I hadn't planned on this. How many of you, just by a confessional show of hands, have used AI in some form? I'm gonna say like this week.
Yeah.
Or at all, so most of you. So my name is Christopher Hazlitt. I'm a professor of humanities. I teach mostly writing. As Greg mentioned, I'm the co-chair of our artificial intelligence committee. I co-chair that with Eric Magidson from our CIS department, an amazing co-chair to work with. And I've been asked here to talk about artificial intelligence and specifically COCC's response to the rise, advent, and increasing use and presence of AI in most of our academic lives. And the reason I asked how many of you have used AI is because when I was prepping for this and just prepping for the work, I've been going around talking to my colleagues, talking to people in different departments, and the common statement that many of them said was, yeah, you can say what I said, just don't say it was me. Like, people don't really want to admit that they're using AI. So I've got some things that I'm gonna do. Do you mind actually?
Yeah, I remember.
So my goal today is to kind of give you a context of our response to AI, some of the specifics about how people are using it at COCC, and in particular, how faculty are using it, because that's really where I spend most of my time and live most of my academic life. So the story really starts in 2023 when the Vice President for Academic Affairs, Anne Marie Hamlin, formed a task force to go out and study, to gather information, to research what AI was, what the best practices are, and how it was going to impact our academic world, the world of this kind of employment. And that was back when ChatGPT was in its earlier stages, so we really didn't know exactly what it was going to be. The task force went out and did a lot of work, a lot of research, and we also put out a survey that I'm going to go through some of the results. But when we were in, I believe there's a report that we put up that's in your packet. One of the recommendations of that packet, in addition to policy recommendations, best practices recommendations for people at COCC, from students all the way to administrators. Like, we tried to make sure that we were giving suggestions and information for everybody that comes into our world. It was a very exhaustive project. One of the recommendations is that we take this task force and we make it permanent. So this year, the AI committee, or I think it's actually called the Committee on Artificial Intelligence, is starting its formal work to do this. And what our charge is to continue to offer policy recommendations at COCC, to consult with student services when we have matters related to academic honesty or academic dishonesty that are AI specific. As requested, we'll come and consult. But the real charge that we're focusing on is continuing to develop informational materials and workshop materials that can help people do their job better with AI, around AI, through AI, or even potentially without an artificial intelligence component. So that's really what the committee is currently moving forward in its approach to work. So So the task force, we sent out a survey, I believe it was in May of 2024, and we wanted to ask people at the college, across the college, how are you using AI? There were a series of questions. We asked them to identify what department they were in, what kinds of AI programs they're using, how they're using those AI programs. And the really core question was, are you using it at all? Or have you heard about it being used? And again, this was back when it was unknown. It was kind of hush hush if people were using it. We got 51 responses. 35 people responded, I'm either using it or I know someone is using it near me in my department. And about 16 people said, no, haven't heard about it at all, and I'm not using it. I don't know if I believe them, but we'll take them at their word. Which says that the majority of people at that time were aware of AI and were probably using it in some way on purpose. Like they were consciously going out and using these technologies. So the way that we broke it down was, in addition to where your department was, what are the ways you're using it? That was really of interest to us. By far the largest category, and this was across instructors and administrators and classified, was for administrative tasks, just those little day-to-day and continuing the business of working at the college kinds of tasks. The second largest was teaching and learning, and that was almost, of course, exclusively for the instruction staff. There's some other categories that people reported on, administrative plus research, a sort of projection use that they were using, data analysis or data synthesis. I'm going to skip that next one though. Marketing and outreach was one that people were using it for. We didn't clarify how they were using it in that ways. That was sort of the category of use that they identified. And then teaching and learning plus research, kind of course development, content development, just shaping and refining the way that we teach. One of the largest categories though, below that was none. And people continue to say, I'm not using AI. And those are people that when they acknowledged they had heard of it, they knew people were using it, but they were consciously rejecting it. And again, this was May of 2024. And some people mentioned AI for IT support. I actually used that the other day for Excel. I'm not an Excel guy, and it helped me like work through how to put in formulas in a particular way. I think I remember it. And then student advising was another one, synthesis writing, things like that. So there's a wide range of ways that people at that time were using it. Faculty in particular, though, this is really the world that I live in mostly. We were using, they identified ChatGPT and Gemini, which is the Google sort of AI attachment, and some other ones too, but mostly it was ChatGPT that people were identifying, along with AI integrations into our course materials, whether they were part of a reading technology or whether they were part of a learning management system. And then AI features to use for assistive grading and evaluation tools. I'll get into the detail about that in a little bit. And then AI enhanced research aids, which I think is a very interesting thing. An AI attachment to a search bar that's helping you filter and feed whatever you're trying to look for. It's a very interesting kind of technology. But the way that these responses, they fell into some clear categories. They were using them for instructional support. So generating practice problems, comparing AI versus student work. I'll do that occasionally. And then content development for class. They'll use it for assessment and feedback. So like an assistive grading system and rubric. And I want to be very clear about assistive grading system. I have yet to hear about anybody using AI to grade. They use it around their grading or to make sense of or make more accessible the grading that they're doing across a wide range of disciplines. And I think that's a really important point. We're using it for research and writing, of course. I'll use it for brainstorming. I've used it for brainstorming in a lot of places. Drafting documents, analyzing sources, and a lot of people, the overwhelming responses, they're using it to edit their writing. And not just in classes, but for the professional side of things too, which I think that's great. It's kind of a playing field leveler for people who aren't necessarily as comfortable with written language. And then administrative communication, I will admit I do this probably more than I should, drafting emails. I'm never satisfied with what it spits out, but it's fast, so I'll sometimes play with it from there. Meeting notes, I've actually started doing that too. Professional development materials and general productivity aids. I know someone who uses this to track their expenditures for their professional improvement plans and how they are distributing those in a way that actually makes sense to them. And someone else is using it for personal finances, which, okay, that works. The tools did overlap, but again, it was really ChatGPT. And one of the things they also highlighted was class experimentation. What I've been thinking of is play testing. You can tell most AI programs to pretend to be something or someone, and it will respond to your prompts in that way. Sometimes well, mostly okay, sometimes very, very poorly, but people are using it in that way in a sort of around the classroom setting. So some of the other things, the learning management system that we have, Canvas, has some AI features built into it. So whether people choose to use it or not, it's still there. Sort of like turnitin.com, a kind of plagiarism detector, has that built into it now. Automated grading and feedback system. I know some people who use it to track the patterns of their students' involvement with the course content. How much time are you spending on these particular areas? Is that an appropriate way to be spending the time in that area, or would you be recommending changing it in this direction? Sort of a support tutor system that's built into the class. We're definitely using AI-powered library search and research tools. Our library's search engine is now AI infused. It has an AI attached to it that will help you filter results and hopefully potentially get better sources. AI student performance analytics, again, synthesizing student engagement for feedback. AI use in teaching activities. I've been doing this recently, kind of brainstorming and playtesting new ideas, or going back to old ideas and saying, how can we make this AI responsive, AI infused, AI resistant if we need to be. Then there goes those people that say not, that they're not using AI at all. They are trying to, as much as they can, leave it out of their world. And I wanted to include one of the comments from the actual survey, which is reiterated again and again when I talk to people. In fact, I was in a meeting this week where this sentiment was reiterated more or less like this, that I rarely use AI. AI can only steal. Anything it creates is the stitched together corpse of human effort, soulless and devoid of value. Now, I don't necessarily agree with that, but I also don't disagree. But it's an interesting and I think really representative explanation of a strong, not a majority, but of a large portion of people who just resist AI. And that's fine. I think we need those people. So again, AI is embedded in technologies. There are people that are using Grammarly. If you've used your phone today, you've probably used an AI system. And the idea is that whether they use it or they're using it on purpose or not, they are using it. So the objective for our committee is to make sure that we provide information and materials so that people who are using it on purpose in their job or are just using it in their life without having more or less a choice, that they can use it more effectively, more informedly, and especially more critically. That I think is the essential nature of this committee. So kind of giving a breakdown of the way people are using it. Faculty are aware of the presence in teaching and learning, research data, and all these other categories. And then my last slide. The survey also asked people to think about what are the questions you have moving forward. This was a year ago. And we're going to repeat the survey both in interviews and conversations, but also as a formal survey. The last question was, what are you thinking about? What are your questions? What are your concerns? I think these were the representative ones. How do we go about teaching research and writing in a post-AI emergent world? I think that could probably be in any of the disciplines though. How do we teach history in a world where AI can create sources? How can we ethically check to see if students are using AI? I will give away the game right now. You can't. It's most of those detection systems do not work very well or at all. So it's an interesting, if not a very concerning problem. How can faculty optimize AI usage to help navigate new assigned data when we have other duties, other things that we have added to our job that we need to do, but that we can maybe streamline and integrate into the work we're already doing. So how can AI assist with that? How can AI ease or complicate aspects of our jobs? That was a really strong sentiment, both in the survey and in people I'm talking to still. And then really the role of the committee is to address this last one. How can we stay current? And we're going to do that by providing information, resources, both in person, online, and a ton of workshops that are both very, very general and very tailored to different disciplines, including financial services, student services, the history department, or nursing. I'm actually working on nursing right now. And so that's sort of our goal. And one of the principles that we came back with was transparency. So I wanted to just draw a sort of performative attention that it says AI acknowledgement. This presentation was composed with the assistance of generative AI to revise language for concision. I used ChatGPT to try and make it more concise. I don't know what my time is right now, but if it was longer than 5 minutes, which is what I was given, you can either blame me or you can blame the bot. That's it. I hope this was informative. I'm sure I'll have more information if you want me to return and talk more about AI in the future. So,
Are you seeking questions?
I certainly.
What do you see the threats and the opportunities, the major threat and the major opportunity? I know you kind of covered that.
I don't know if I could pin it to one. The one that's on my mind most recently, in terms of, it's almost both, is how AI in our world is going to connect to workforce development, job. And not just because the job market and workforce is changing rapidly, but AI also changes really quickly as well. From the initial survey to today, most of what we were talking about is fundamentally different in its power and its scope and how it's being used and just where it is. So workforce development, especially in places in the CTE world, even in like art and graphic design, AI is being not just encouraged sometimes, but it's expected. And so with that, the sort of flip side of that is how are we going to teach AI, whether it's about it, through it, using it, while also emphasizing the higher education goals of critical thinking, critical reasoning. And I think there's a place for that. I do. But I think whatever the opportunity is also a potential problem. Yeah. So,
Thank you.
yeah, it's a good question. That's frequently on my mind. Yeah.
Thank you for all this. I would love an update as this develops and especially when it impacts students and academic integrity. And I'm curious if there have been any like emerging issues or challenges. And I'm sure every instructor is different in deciding how to use it. You know, hopefully based on these guidelines you've provided, but the scope and the spectrum is so wide with how teachers may choose to use it or not use it. So I'm curious, one, what maybe some of the biggest challenges you've had now in the classroom, and then two, a request, you know, maybe a year or two from now. I would love to hear how it's developing.
Yeah, just right now, the biggest challenge I think is that problem of detection.
Yeah.
But the way that I think our committee especially has proposed it as a sort of best practice is make it transparent. Don't try to ban it so that it goes, you know, underground, so to speak. And teach people how to use it and when not to, but especially why. Like actually just today in my composition 1 class, we used AI for peer feedback, but following human feedback. So those guidelines of how to best use it, that's going to be, I think, the most, the longest lasting kind of issue in a classroom setting. The detections, it's going to be hard. Yeah.
Are
Are instructors moving more toward demonstrating thinking like in the classroom, not where AI tools are not available?
That's a great question. I want to say they are moving in that direction. I don't know how strongly or how quickly. That's one of the questions that we're going to pursue this year. I have heard from other institutions, and just to brag, there are all the other colleges and universities in Oregon have something that they're doing with AI. There are only 4 institutions in the state that have formal committees: us, OSU, PSU, and Lane Community. So that's it. But the moving towards, say, the demonstration, like an oral report or something like that. Yeah, I have heard some people that are doing that. I've heard occasionally people going back to like those old blue book examinations.
They're on the rise. They are in the rise.
Yeah, sales spiked apparently.
Yeah.
I got that info from ChatGPTs.
Yeah.
And it was delightful. Yeah, I'm sure that but I think, and this is part of my, I guess, job is to convince people we can do that without going backwards. Right? I mean, it doesn't mean you have to use AI in a conscious way, but we don't necessarily have to return to that. The principle of how do we authentically or genuinely demonstrate what you've learned beyond just the skipping over the work part by using AI. Yeah, that's going to be a huge problem or a huge issue or opportunity. Yes, I would love to come back and update on all of these questions. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Softball questions, Andrew?
Oh,
Thank you
so much.
for your time and interest in this. It's super important. Thank you.
Thank you for the whole. I think that was very informative in a way that I don't think I've ever seen it all put together like this. Yes.
Right, and I think some of the terms have probably changed already too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Okay. Very informative. Okay, so next up is an update on our strategic plan. Student ready college update.
Oh, no, we're actually gonna do the indicator one first, or we should have had that first, if that's okay.
Oh, did I cross it out? Okay, strategic plan update from
Yeah.
2023 to
There we go.
2027.
That was
Thank
the
you.
one. That's one.
I'm 40 years old, sorry for.
All right, well, welcome back to this fun-filled topic. If you remember, in June this last year, we did an update on our strategic plan progress for year 2. And as we were doing that, we wanted to let Greg off the hook, because normally we do this in July and have his first board meeting be all about that. So we backed it up a month, and the deeper we got into that, the deeper we realized we don't have a lot of this data until middle of the summer, if not later, right? And so what we've got here for you tonight, and all of us are going to chime in. I'm playing the role of Zach Boone tonight, by the way. Didn't shave my head to look like him, but I'm not going to do that. But Michael's going to join us online. Laura, Anne Marie, and I all talk about the indicators that we have primary or in some cases shared leadership for that we weren't able to cover for you in June. But chime in if you have any questions. We didn't go as deep as we did in June because there was so much information we threw at you. But a lot of that information in the board package then is still the same. So to start us off, when we look at our goals about being a student-ready college, when you see this at the front of every of our 4 goals, anything in yellow are the topics we're covering tonight because the ones in white we covered in June. So the first one that we want to take a look at is fall to winter retention. And what this really is looking at is saying is that this is our cohort year. So fall of 2024, we had 74% of our students came back for that winter of 25 term, right? So it's just looking at their first term retention. How many students were here in one term and came back the second term? And you can see over the course of the last few years, we've been relatively steady, right? And you're going to see that in a lot of our indicators and general conversations we've had as a leadership group have said, when we're seeing that little bit up, little bit down, typically means we've found our sweet spot. And in so many of these, when you drill down in how we've defined our student groups, that it's a smaller cohort than you might think it is, so that we can have peer institutions as a comparator. So this one, for example, our comparator in Oregon are all the several other guided pathways institutions the state has identified for us, and that's Lane, Southwestern, Lynn Benton, and Umpqua. And they only look at first time, full time, never ever had a college credit before, even when in high school. And so while we might have about 2,000 first time students each year, that number, when you apply that definition, shrinks down to about 130, 140 students. So when you look at a swing between 76% retained from fall of 23 into winter of 24, or 74% from fall of 24 into winter of 25, that number, the actual physical number, is pretty small. And so I share that because when you look at the high of 77, the high to low of 74 or so, that really only is about 18 students. I think is the difference I calculated from those different years based on who was in that cohort. So does that make sense?
Yeah.
So the definitions, initially people think it's this. When we put the definition that allows us to have comparators, it shrinks it to a really small number on most of the ones that you're going to hear Anne Marie and I talk about.
So these are, I think you just said that this number really only applies to about 130 students.
Perfect.
That is very different than what I had anticipated it was over all these conversations.
So when you go out to our street, if you want to really be a data wonk, like I like to do on occasion, not always. When you go out to our strategic plan assessment page, you can drill down and see that level of definition to see what is that actual cohort. We could do something different, but if we do that, then we lose our ability to compare ourselves to other institutions.
All right, our next 2 are graduation and transfer rates. And again, we're dealing with that same cohort that Alicia just described for us. So keep that in mind. We have numbers from, let's see. So another thing I want to, before I go there, remind you of graduation and transfer rates are lagging indicator data for us. So when you see in the graph, the fall 2021 cohort, that's the students who then would have graduated 3 years after that in 2024. All right. So when you're looking at the numbers up there, 21% and comparing to our target, you've got to look in this column for 23, 24 to see where we are. So you'll see at 21%, we're at an almost met level in that indicator. This is one of this and the transfer one that you'll see in just a second are indicators that are gonna be, the data will be shaped by our work in guided pathways. So as that picks up, we will see, our goal is to see those numbers rise, because that project, which we'll talk about in just a minute, is designed to help students enroll, stay enrolled, and complete their programs. Okay, next. Moving on to transfer out. These are students who move to another community college, a four-year institution, etc. This is the same data as the ones that we presented in June. Institutions don't actually report on this data until October. So we have some of our own data, but we don't have comparator data at this point. We should have that later in the year. So that's something to keep in mind. But again, guided pathways work is really going to help us shape these numbers, and ideally in the next few years, then, beginning with the cohort that begins fall 26, we'll see that move increasingly higher.
So those are the student ready indicators. Any questions on those that we can help with?
Oh, go ahead, Alan.
Oh, so you just talked about 4-year lag between what we see
Three.
in the class.
Yeah.
Well, why 4, not 2?
So when it comes to graduation rates?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a 3-year completion rate, and that's a standard expectation of someone in a 2-year program, that they should be able to complete their goals within 3 years.
And that comes from IPEDS, our national data source. They define community college completion as 3 years and university completion as 6, because they know the vast majority of our students do not go to school full time. COCC is an example, and we only have about 18% of our students who go full time for an entire academic year. Most of our students are going part-time for a portion of that. So it's not realistic to measure our students on a 2-year graduation rate or a university graduation rate of 4 years.
You're the only person that will talk to me. What percentage of that? 18%?
Yes, 18% of our students go full-time year round.
Your comment earlier has me stuck a little bit. So the total number, it's 131 students. That's what we're looking at, not like the percentage difference. No, total.
Total is 100. So if you think of all of our first year students,
Yeah,
to be counted in any of these 3 indicators, they have to be full-time.
yes.
They have to be first time ever in college, and dual credit. If they
Yep.
take dual credit, they're not in that bucket.
Yeah, first time.
So full-time students.
First time, full time. Yeah.
And that's, I mean, honestly, the definition that's frustrating for a lot of us nationally and has been frustrating
Yeah.
for 10, 15 years. But it's what the Department of Education counts federally. And so that's the definition we like to follow. So we're consistent from school to school.
If I can chime in, because it's good for context, the college I came here from had 44,000 students. Our IPEDS cohort was 96 students out of 44,000. Because first time, full time, and starting on a traditional start date within the 45 days. So same thing, we were sort of like, seriously, you're holding us accountable for this when it's less than 1%. So
Yeah.
this is a national challenge. It's not unique to COCC or the Oregon schools.
Do you feel like we're getting the kind of information that helps us make decisions with?
Yeah,
such a small group, such a specific group?
I think the next layer down, when you get at the operational level, a lot of folks don't use these definitions necessarily, because from an operational decision-making level or even more strategic level, it's not enough information for us to share, right? But if we want to have comparison institutions, I don't know. If we create our own graduation rate definition, which we had for years, it's like, I don't know if that's good or bad until we do this comparison type work.
Yeah.
Christopher was just here talking about AI. He co-chaired our strategic planning process with me. And when we were looking at least establishing the high level, what we want our indicators to be, we looked at different definitions but then switched to these because of that comparison institution direction.
So once again, on the numbers, you said approximately 2,000 every year, but only how many are full-time? 180, you said?
Well, full-time, never had a college credit
Yeah.
before and started in fall term
Yes.
as 131 students.
Okay.
So the reverse of that is think if a student is part-time, if they're transferring here, if they took dual credit or they started winter, spring or summer, they don't count. Right, and that's, to Greg's point, this is a national issue, it's not just an Oregon or a COCC issue.
And iPads was really established for the four-year institutions. That's why it's written that way. So community colleges, you have a lot more students who have credit somewhere else, or who start in the spring,
Yeah.
or who start in summer. But iPads is the national database. It became that because it's everybody. They try and put everybody in the same bucket. So it's a challenge for community colleges, but I wouldn't say we use iPads data to make internal decisions, which I think was your question, Aaron. This is reporting out and, aligning with peer data.
That help?
Yeah.
Clear as mud, right? Yeah. All right, so next up is our goal around access. Wearing my Zach Lewin hat that Anne-Marie and I shared in developing our in-district penetration rate indicators, and then the other ones we reported on earlier in the year. I want to talk a little bit about where our in-district penetration rates are. So what this graph shows is what our district population is compared to our enrollment, compared to how many students are we serving. And we define that as 15 students age 15 and older, right? 1% difference. This is when we struggled with our first year a lot. We looked at education attainment rates. We looked at distribution by age. We looked at county by county. We looked at, the list of data that we pulled was extensive. And all of a sudden we had this kind of aha moment of, gosh, if we want to increase this even 1%, that means more than 2,000 students would have to take additional classes with us, right? Or even a 0.1%, right, is 210 students. So that's a big swing. And that's why you see pretty conservative or smaller level numbers than what you might have seen in other indicators. But regardless, we kind of hit the last few years that sweet spot, right? Where we're going anywhere from 5.6 to 5.8% and kind of jockeying back and forth for this. This one is a really hard one to set because our tri-county region is growing at rates much faster, especially with older adults and those with a bachelor's degree and higher. And that's growing significantly higher than what the COCC's enrollment is. We pulled in a couple of statisticians, a couple of our math folks to say there's got to be a statistical way to explain it. And they all just, well, we're not math majors, right? You're an English major and I was a communications major. They said, no, you shouldn't understand it because there really isn't a way to explain it mathematically. Right? So that gives you an idea of where we are. But I think one of the things we're pleased with is that we're kind of holding steady in that 5.6 to 5.8%. It's not exactly where we want to be when you look ahead, but we are setting some, to our comments from last year, we are setting ourselves some stretch goals, especially as we're looking at expanding online programs at Redmond, Madras, and Prineville, at our campuses there, and some other program growth that you'll hear a little about with Anne-Marie talks around workforce.
The district population was what age set?
So this last academic year is 233,000 across. That's only the 3 primary counties. We're not able to pull in Warm Springs because the way the state counts county data is a little challenging for us to just carve out Warm Springs. Thoughts or questions there? Again, I'm going to play the role of Zach Lewin this evening. College sponsored events. Let me see what he told you to. The other one I can talk about. This one he told me what to talk about. As you can see, right, this is our COVID year. Not a whole lot happening on campus or in person when it comes to events that we have a role in helping put on or sponsored our college. This is not when we solely rent out a space and provide some basic levels of support. These are events that COCC is deeply engaged with in some capacity. We have a new person in our events planner role. She has just been knocking out of the ballpark. Has provided such great service to community members and organizations who want to come in, to all of us who put on events. Helping Josh and his team, Laura and the IT folks really get beyond involved for all of these events. But you can see, even though there's some steady growth, we're going to see some leveling off because we feel like we've kind of hit the saturation point of what staff can manage, especially evenings and weekends. Right? So just want to give a shout out to Heather for her great work there, who's our new events planner. Josh and Laura's team are always right there to help us with all these types of events. Where Scott just went, he's one of the big folks who really helps us with a lot of those, but really some great engagement in some of the work that you see here. And these are things like our season of nonviolence events. There's some of our community reads and speaker series, all those types of events that COCC is an active program. Any questions on that one?
I have a question, Alicia. I know I'm a bit of a broken record on this question. But I don't believe that any of these events occur in this zone down here in La Pine.
Okay.
And I've been hopeful that we could start tracking a little bit of our presence in every zone. Just to help create a sense that we're in every part of our district. And we've talked a little bit about how important it could be to have COCC partnering with a local organization to host an event to, especially here in La Pine, where we're kind of building a foothold. And I just say it out loud because I know there's folks here from La Pine tonight, and so that they can hear that that's could be an important opportunity for us to bring events to La Pine as collaborations. And I hope that we do track in the future whether we're showing up in every district of every zone in our district.
I will pass the tracking piece on to Zach, and then certainly all those folks that Zach works with to help kind of bring this information together, make sure that that message gets out.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, Anne Marie, of course. Okay. As you recall, our goal is that we are developing and aligning our educational offerings within the workforce with regional community needs, as well as industry standards. So we have a couple of indicators that we're going to look at. First is headcount and completion, and then classes, degrees, certificates, and degrees. I had mentioned earlier this year that we were doing some work on our definitions of work for education and training. And so I'm very excited to share with you that we have worked through, we had a committee work through this process, and it involved a number of staff, deans, executive director, Center for Business. I'm not going to be able to remember everybody, but it also included checking in with our state partners at HEC to get a really good understanding of these two areas. And so we've developed these definitions that you see in front of you now. Education are those programs that are approved by the state and by our accrediting agency. They're usually multi-term, longer programs where students gain specific skills and related education. These include things like apprenticeship, non-credit training certificates, we call them NCTCs, both certificates and degrees within our CTE programs. Training is a narrower slice. These are courses, or I think they're all courses, standalone, that aren't part of a larger program. So these might be the kinds of things that someone comes to COCC for to increase their skills, to increase their knowledge. They're not shifting jobs. They're not trying to train for something new. They just want to get a little additional training for the work that they're already doing. They supplement as a way of professional development. And so these are largely entirely in our Center for Business as well as community education. And again, a single class or maybe a very short class. So it's a different experience than the longer project of gaining a certificate or degree. A couple of our indicators here. So I want to start by looking at the sections on education, headcount, and completions. I'm on the right page of notes here. So good news, you're seeing in the education headcount, our numbers are up a bit in that area, and we're seeing a good increase in that trend. You may be curious about why education completers seem so low, even though we're holding fairly steady in those numbers. That is only counting CTE programs. So it doesn't include the non-credit side of the house, so as education, only CTE programs. And there are some times in those programs where students actually take a class or two and they're employable. So they're going to go off and get a job. They may come back, and deans are working on ways to find on-ramps for those folks to come back, get a few more classes, actually get the certificate or move on for the degree. So those are a couple of things to note about education headcount completions. In terms of training, the redefinition that we have done has really helped us see more clearly. This is something that COCC hasn't done before, to figure out what is the relationship between these two things and how do we count them. So given the new definitions, our institutional effectiveness team went back in and
redid all of our data based on those new definitions. So these, if you're comparing to what you've seen in previous presentations, these numbers may look a little bit different, but we feel like they're much more accurate now. So we're excited about that.
So previous years take into consideration the new definition.
Yes.
Okay,
What we've got
thank
here. Just a couple of notes, training headcount and completions. They look like they're on a downward trend, which they are numerically speaking, but we're also doing a lot of refining of what we're offering in those areas. There have been occasions when we just sort of offered a broad smattering of things and maybe they weren't the right fit for the community. We're able to use our recent work with Lightcast analysts and the program demand gap analysis to understand better what the community needs. So those groups are currently refining their offerings to offer quality instruction in what the community is requesting, as opposed to simply adding more and more and broadening out the number of courses they offer. Let's see, just a couple of interesting points on that. Our public sector partnerships are actually reaching out less. They're doing asking for about 15% less training than they have historically. So we're seeing a decrease in demand, which is important to note. But despite that, our summer enrollments, at least in the Center for Business, were up by 87%. So they're doing some work to figure out their marketing strategies, what they're offering, to try and see if we can get a little increase in the numbers, certainly from where we are now, but within a quality that we're looking for. Yes.
Public sector, define it.
These are partners with whom we have contracts and we offer things such as professional development, training. And so often this is the HR departments of organizations within the region, and they'll say to COCC, we want our people to do this leadership training. So those kinds of requests are down by about 15%.
So it's more than just cities and counties, it's also business.
It can be organizations too, yeah. Okay, let's move on to our workforce offerings. Okay, again, we're seeing this broken down in a different way than we've had previously. Education, new programs and courses on the left, and training new courses on the right. I'm going to start with the training and then I'll back up to education. It looks like we're decreasing it in the number of courses there, but I want you to note that the 25-26 numbers are a point in time. So we're only measuring what's been offered through today. And I checked in with our executive director of the Center for Business, and they are expecting to be in the range of 87 by the end of this year. So you will see those numbers adjust.
Can I jump into everybody to point out? The italicized doesn't really emphasize enough, but this is only new. This is not the totality of everything. So
very true.
When we first looked at it, I go, God, what happened to everything? This is just new stuff in the year listed, that stuff being a technical word, listed in the academic year. So, no repeats.
Okay, popping back to the education, new programs and courses. As we develop these new definitions, we were having a bunch of conversations about, well, how are we doing this? And is it really realistic for us to be predicting how many new courses and programs we will add if we don't exactly know all of the landscape around us for the next few years? So a few thoughts on that. We certainly gained greater clarity and consistency in our data, and we're in a better position to understand all of that and do some prediction. We've set our goals pretty modestly while we brought these new tools on, because we knew that they would really change how we think about things. And so we persist with these through this strategic plan, but I'm excited to think about what we might do with our next strategic plan, now that we have better tools to provide us that kind of data. We do have our strategic plan action team working right now to summarize and analyze that program demand gap analysis. So we will have information for you on that later. Oh, and then the other thing to think about is that in terms of education, some of these number of new programs in particular look fairly low. We do go through development of new programs in an annual cycle. So those are approved that way. Courses as well, they're a little bit more predictable. Training, on the other hand, is designed to be nimble, quicker response to industry need. So that may have a different kind of lifespan than the other. Okay. More on that, but I guess I'm done with that one, okay.
Yeah, the only thing I would add that we stumbled into a little bit, another aha moment this year is when we talk about education and new programs. These are things like developing a new credit certificate or degree. To set targets around that is really challenging because it's so subjective to, do we have the budget for it? Do we have the faculty that are qualified to teach it? Do we have the physical facilities that are available to teach it? That to set a long range target when things are so outside of necessarily one unit's control, that it's an institution-wide decision, that going forward in a future strategic plan, we might actually carve out saying, oh, that new programs is the best thing to assess ourselves.
Alright. Just real quick on these numbers that are, just to make sure I understand of the, like, on the targets for the headcount and completion, these are. So for instance, the training headcount, it's gone down a lot, but we are hoping it will go up by 1.5 to 3%.
Yes.
Headcount.
Yeah.
And then on the programs and courses, we're hoping for 3 new programs this year and 3 new programs next year. Do we know what those are?
We do have some sense of what they are. So as you know, we've been working toward a dental hygiene program. We do count programs offered in new places as new programs. So offering this year nursing, medical assisting, and nursing assistant in Madras counts toward that. Dean's help me out.
We have new art certificates.
Yeah, okay. So we do have several certificates that we added this year in behavioral health addiction studies to in the art program. So yeah. So we know those are coming through because we're gathering information now from programs that want to develop a new program. So it's about an 18-month process.
Thank you.
And that, Michael, are you with us still?
I am with you.
All right,
So,
well, you-
yeah, we're going to talk about the President's Climate Leadership Commitment Indicator under college sustainability. All the other ones were discussed previously. So pretty excited about the reduction in emissions that we have seen in Scope 1 and Scope 2 and Scope 3. Scope 1, of course, is what we control. And we work with Pacific Power and the Energy Trust of Oregon to monitor our use of electricity. And whenever we see a spike in usage, we do a root cause analysis to kind of find out what is driving those numbers. And we work with Pacific Power also to reduce our usage when they need the power. It happens infrequently and it's not for a long time, but it does have an impact. But the biggest impact really here is our ability when we do deferred maintenance, for example, replacing the roof, Modoc and Ochiko, to increase the insulation on that roofing, and that drives our emissions down because of less energy use that is needed. And then, of course, when we replace HVAC, we replace it with higher efficiency HVAC. And when we're looking at boilers, we do the same thing. So we should continue to see a change to benefit our reduced emissions. On the Scope 2, it's really Pacific Power changing where their power comes from, and they're moving towards more green power sources. So that's helped out quite a bit. All other direct emissions, they are reduced, but we don't really have an impact. So we beat our target for the second year in a row. And as we tackle additional deferred maintenance, there's going to be an opportunity to continue to decrease our emissions. And that's it.
Questions for Michael? All right. Can't do all this great work without the fabulous team of institutional technologists with Bryn and Chris. They are largely responsible for helping us sift through all this data, helping the workforce group define their work, and then helping us create our dashboards that we look at on a pretty regular basis. So giant thank you for the lift and support they give to all of us. Any question on the indicators before we jump now into year 3? Year 2's got a bow on it. We'll have to switch our presentations for them. I don't want to mess with your computer.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate being here. Nice to see a lot of you there. Thanks, all of you.
Good to see you.
I'll just preface this by, you'll recall that we have set up a plan by which to review some of the specific projects for each of our goal areas during different board meetings during the year. And in the October board meeting, we are here to talk about a couple of the 2 projects that we have in the student ready goal. All right. I think I can start this next slide without it being on the thing. Just to remind you of what the goal is, Student Ready College, COCC welcomes all students by addressing their individual needs and helping them achieve their goals. We do use the indicators that we've, 3 of which we've gone over tonight to do some measurement. But we also have, what we want to present to you tonight is the action projects. What is the work that we're doing that will help us achieve or exceed, that'd be great, those targets. So we're going to begin with guided pathways. As a reminder about what guided pathways is, I know you've heard this before, but I'm going to say it again. There are sort of 2 aspects to guided pathways. It begins with what we call guided pathways 1.0, which is a project to create our systems at the college so that students are able to understand what pathways are ahead of them, choose a pathway for themselves, get involved in that pathway, stay on that pathway, and also know that we will measure to know that they're learning within that pathway. And that's where some of our assessment work comes in. Guided Pathways 2.0 adds what we call the ASIF model, in which we are asking students early and often, what are you interested in? What are you curious about? What are the skills that you have? What are skills you want to develop? So that they can choose initially a program, and if needed, adjust their program along the way as they discover more about themselves and their goals. We have projects to connect them to each other, to their faculty, to industry through internships, cooperative work experience, etc. And we have ways to help them plan. So we have a number of systems that we already have in place that help students know, well, if I want to get to the point of being a nurse, these are the steps that I'm going to do along the way. I want to be a chemist. Here's how I go about that. And then through the advising process, we help them along those paths. We have developed in the last few years, thanks to our fabulous marketing team, some icons and some color schemes that go with each of the 8 pathways. These 8 pathways were designed and developed by a committee of faculty and staff to say, these are the logical groupings of what we would do with our program. So I won't go through the details of them, but we also have them on our website in such a way that you could look down and see what are the actual programs, degrees, and certificates within each of those pathways.
Are they the same in each college?
No, thank you for asking that. Guided pathways is a concept that is applied a little bit differently by institution based on what we offer, how we operate. And so the ones that we have are unique to COCC. There may be similar things at other institutions. They may call them slightly different. They might collect programs in them slightly differently, but these are specific to COCC.
All right, so there's been a tremendous lift by a whole lot of people, and you're going to see that list here in just a little bit at the college to tee up this work. And so guided pathways, just like the education pathways, what's in each grouping is different at each college. Guided pathways and how schools implement that is different in each institution as well. And so for COCC, we started off with these 1 through 6 different work groups, right? First is our new student communications work group. And through our customer relationship management system, we want to customize communications to students based on their pathway. So for example, instead of a letter of admission coming from Tyler, who's our Dean of Enrollment Management, it might come from one of the faculty leads for each of the pathways to say, welcome to your new pathway. Here's a great way to build community. Here's a great way to build connections type of piece. Bobcat Welcome is the very first step students do after they apply to COCC. And it's a short 30-ish minute interactive online orientation and welcome to say some primary messages around, we believe in you, we believe in your success, and we're here to support you. It introduces them some logistics and next steps, but those are the primary messages. This is one of the things we heard when we were developing that a few years ago was we go from admitted to very transactional, come in for advising, but we missed that welcoming message. And so we added in this very short piece to reinforce that message. Academic advising, new student orientation, Bobcat orientation, all of those will be redesigned around an individual pathway. So instead of saying, hey, sign up for any one of these orientation sessions, students will sign up for an orientation or advising session based on their pathway. So you can see how it permeates the entirety of the student experience, including this concept of trailhead courses. And trailhead is a spinoff of Bobcats. Bobcats create trails, right? But really is the concept that there's an introductory course for a lot of the pathways, especially for students who are exploratory in a pathway. So one of our largest majors at COCC is exploratory or undecided students. And instead of having a pathway that said, here's your exploratory grouping, all of you don't know what you want to do, right? What we're asking students to do is pick an area that you think you're interested in. And so we hear from students a lot who might say, I'm interested in the sciences, but I'm not sure if it's chemistry or geology, right? So if they can take a trailhead course, kind of an intro to, or things that are embedded with career planning opportunities, or things that are embedded with intentional strategies to get them to think more specific about transfer areas, that's what certain courses will either be designed or current ones will be infused with information along those lines. And then finally, we have our pathway leads group, right? These are faculty who have said, all they volunteered to be the faculty lead for this particular pathway, and not only serve as a point of support for all of these areas and getting all the faculty in our group to be saying, here's what we want to see in Bobcat orientation for the natural resources piece. But they also work in developing the trailhead courses and working with faculty to develop both in and out of class engagement strategies. So all of these groups, you're going to see a timeline in just one sec, have been working on that planning, and this year are shifting to implementation because fall of 2026 is when we go live with all of these pieces. But related to that, we couldn't do it without redeveloping our brand new customer relationship management system. You heard that our vendor closed up its doors, so we had to stop, put the brakes on and get that in there. Our new admissions application went live yesterday, so 2 days ago, Monday, whatever the 6th was, Monday. I had October 6th drilled into my brain. But yeah, brand new admissions application went live with that. Web redesign also went live on Monday. We're gonna pull that up in just one second. This year at the All College Kickoff, we did a breakout session activity, recreated game that modeled guided pathways, how students choose a path, what challenges they might face, what interventions might come into play. So every employee engaged in a guided pathways activity to really get them thinking about how their jobs apply to this great work. And now we have a team coming together to say, all right, we've laid this foundation. How do we want to measure ourselves by? Okay. So if you can help me flip out to the website, that would be great. Huge team over the last couple of years, starting with Jen Kobus when she was here, John Moore, who's our lead web designer, Tyler from Enrollment Management, lots of Lucas, lots of other folks that are working the last, I don't know, 18 months or so to redesign our COCC webpage to align a lot with our guided pathways work and to also give it a fresh look. So Lucas is going to share that for you because it just went live on Monday as well. You might ask, why did all this stuff go live this year if we're not implementing a lot of stuff till next? And that's because 30% of our new students apply between now and January for next fall. So we want to have that guided pathways language fresh for that population. Thank you. And you could have made this way. So you'll see a lot of the same things with our top menu navigation. Okay, maybe I can't do it, but sorry, Ellen, I'm blocking. Menu navigation up here, but then you have a different look that more aligns with with website design now that's easily more scrollable, if that's the word, for phones, iPads, that sort of thing. And it immediately gets to what are your goals, right? And this is intended to capture the six-ish primary ways that students take classes with us, right? So if you think about someone's here to earn a degree, or maybe they want to take classes for fun and enrichment, or they want to advance your business career. Each of these will bring individuals to different information on our website. Whereas our former design was really geared more towards students traditionally taking the credit path, and you might have to search for community ed, you might have to search for adult basic skills.
Yeah, I can speak to that just a little bit too. I mean, when we were designing this, we really stepped back and looked at the strategic plan and asked ourselves, you know, what would make this more accessible and what would make this more inclusive? And so we wanted to step back and really ask, you know, what's your goal as a student? And it's not just to transfer, it's not just to get, you know, a degree. It could be to get a certificate, it could be to learn English, it could be all kinds of things. So we wanted to be that inclusive first step for students, no matter who that student was.
And if you keep on scrolling, why COCC, here's some basic statistics about the college. And this is where Guided Pathways comes in. Remember those icons Anne Marie showed earlier?
Yeah.
Here they are. And when you navigate, actually, I'm gonna come back to that quick, just so you can see the bottom. Here's the current happenings and events. All of our social media links, so you hover over each to learn about some of the different things we have posted on our different social media channels. How we support students, student stories, and next steps, right, for that call to action. When you get back up here to our Guided Pathways pieces, I think this is the right page. Yeah. So what you can do is, as a student, you could say, gosh, I'm interested in natural resources, but I'm not sure what programs we have. And you click on natural resources and it filters it out here. Before, we had this giant laundry list, right, that you would scroll through. Or you can add different programs to it, or just see certain areas, and then you would hover, then you click and you drill down to specific information about the program pages. So a good way to tie in our Guided Pathways work. So with that, I'm gonna get you back here so I don't disconnect this from the world. And I realize this is a lot of information we're throwing at you, but this really is an institution-wide transformation to make all this work happen. And what we've seen when we participated in a learning institute a couple of years ago was community colleges who are 4 or 5 years into this work, their graduation rates and their transfer rates were increasing anywhere from 10 to 24%. And so to make this institution-wide change, this is the work that it takes to get us there, right? So over the last couple of years, I'm just gonna pull this up real quickly. You can see that we spent about 2 years doing program design, implementation, honestly, convincing ourselves it was worth it, right? Betsy and Marie's predecessor are like, it's a urban legend, we're doing already a lot of this work, we're fine. And then as Guided Pathways shifted into a new model, it became something that COCC could really rally around. And so we did a lot of program design, implementation, research, that type of thing for a couple of years. This spring and summer, our catalog and CRM went live with new Guided Pathways information. You know all the stuff that just is going live here this fall. We talked about some of that next spring, and next fall in 26 is when we really hit some major mile markers.
Sure.
What's that?
Sure.
And so while Lucas is doing that, let me go to the next slide. Yep.
When Alicia says we want to give you a sense of how big we is. You can imagine with the different aspects of work that we've had to do to get where we are today, we've had a lot of opportunity to work across multiple departments in the college. And as soon as we get to there, you'll see a slide with a whole lot of names. This work can't be done alone. And for how many years now? 4 or 5 years, we have sets of work groups that differ a little bit every year, and other people who are doing some of the work to bring the webpage into the shape that we needed it to be, the student services things that need to happen. It doesn't matter that you can't see the names, but there are probably there's probably 100 names on that list, and adding more all the time. So we just want to be we want to recognize the big lift that so many people have done and are still doing to get this program to where we're going to be able to start it in the fall of next year.
So with that, that's a lot to throw at you. Work that 100 people have done for the last 4 years.
Yep.
Questions or thoughts, comments, reactions before we switch into the other action project about under student ready?
Really exciting.
Yes.
I love
To that.
Yeah, that's
And
awesome.
granted, it's been 3 decades, but that would have been available when I was doing it, you know, when you're trying to.
You know, I've heard that from so many people as we
Yeah.
present parts of this along the way. I had a student when I spoke with Michael Lalonde's team about a year ago. I had someone write to me afterwards, said, you know, I was a student at COCC and I was so lost that I left after a couple of terms. If we'd had this in place at that point, I would have known better how to move forward. So, yeah, it's a super exciting.
I remember when we were talking about it years ago, about if we should do it or not,
Mhm.
and it's wonderful to see it at this point where it's almost about to be realized, and then to hear feedback like that, that people are very, very excited for it, so.
Yeah.
Thank you to
Yeah.
all of you that have
Yes.
worked on it,
Mhm.
and all the 100 people,
And
plus,
more.
100 plus, 100 plus people.
Okay,
Thinking
there we
of
are.
this place.
So every college has gone through this. Did they all have to go through all this pain and everything else that we did here? Each one?
Joy,
Okay,
it's
so-
privilege, joy, because of what we're achieving. Not every college does this, Ellen. It's a project, a concept that began, 15 years ago or so. And gradually over time, more and more community colleges are using it. I want to say, are we in the 400 college level?
Yeah.
Right now, out of, is it 1,100 or is there more than that, community colleges for the nation? So no, it's not every college. In Oregon, we are a little behind our peers. Because as Lisa alluded to, when this idea came to us, we kind of thought to ourselves, we already do a lot of this stuff. So there have been elements in place for a long time, and it's only now that we're bringing it under the larger rubric.
As we're in the fourth cohort.
Yeah.
So we were the last of the group.
It was, like Anne-Marie mentioned, when Guided Pathways first came about, it was mandatory advising and degree plans. We got that, we've got that.
Yeah.
It wasn't some of the stuff you see now that institutions are doing. So that's part of the reason we held off a little bit.
I mean, just alone, when you look at the icon page, it's just amazing. You see what we do,
Yeah.
you know, the past.
Yeah,
Yeah, when you add up all the sub-programs that are in each of those, it's
Yeah.
like 104 programs. And I've always wanted to do a study and say how many students choose like the top 10 in the drop-down list, because you just get tired of scrolling.
yeah.
And hopefully this will avoid that.
What a nice piece of work, what a nice
Yeah.
body of work.
Thank you.
Okay, the other action project that we started with in our strategic plan is adult learner recruitment and retention. A few years ago, at the beginning of our strategic plan, we sent a team of folks, including Andrew Davis, who's here, Cindy Lenhart, who's here, a few other people, Brianna from Financial Aid, Tyler from A&R, and Amy from Marketing and PR. They attended a session, I think it was in Portland, to learn more about what does it mean to attract and retain adult learners. What they learned, this is gonna sound familiar to what we were just talking about. We already do a lot of the strategies that are important for adult learners. And so I'll talk a little bit about that for you. So these include things like including imagery in our website, in our materials that feature adults. So they know, oh yes, there's a place for me there. I belong there as well. The academic program maps, something Alicia was just alluding to. How would I get through a program? What would I need to take? So we have those in place already for students. Consistent schedules. As you know, we've been working on this over the last few years, coming to a full year student-centered all 4 campus consistent schedule. We're super pleased with our progress thus far, but that's important for adult learners as well, so that they know when they know that they can count on getting certain classes to move them through to their goals. Credit for prior learning has been a really important aspect of this work. And again, I want to thank Cindy Lenhart and the team she works with in concert with admissions and records, Tyler's team, to think about how can we give students credit for something they have already done in their work life, in their professional life, that replicates or represents an important kind of learning that one would do at the college level. And so we've really increased our capacity and ability to do that well at the college. co-requisite support for college math and English, yeah.
How? So prior learning, is that like equivalency? So if they're looking to enter in a certain program, they can just submit
Yes,
their experience? and
yes,
Okay,
yeah,
I
yeah,
Place
can give you-
training,
yeah.
military.
okay,
I can give you
Yeah.
an example. I went to 2 law enforcement academies and they were able to turn that into credits.
okay, I thought,
That makes a
Yep,
huge
exactly.
difference when you're bringing the adult learners in.
yes,
okay,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
It's a big carrot.
Because I've seen, I've actually done the equivalency process before, but is it beyond that, or is it like you get like a set amount of credit? Maybe I'll just ask this later. Because now I want
We
to know.
also
more.
have an expert in the room who could expand on that just a little bit if you would like to ask that now. If you want to wait, that's okay too.
I can give you the quiz.
Okay, yes,
AP,
uh-huh,
IB
yes,
are all what we consider credit for prior learning. So students take an advanced placement course, they go out and get the score, bring it back in, their process, that's credit for prior learning.
is it like a 1-for-1? So if you took AP biology, then it counts for a biology credit, or is it
Yeah.
like, do they count for general credits?
No, they count for biology.
Okay.
So credit for prior learning is only credit for
Yeah.
prior learning if the learning that they did equates to an actual course that we offer.
Okay, and then you look at syllabi, is that how you like determine?
You look at outcomes, you look at syllabi, Jim just talked about, we've got criminal justice has credit for prior certification, so if you bring in the certification, we've already got the crosswalk in place.
Mhm.
That we do more and better, I think, than any college in the state, is
Okay.
that credit for prior certification.
Uh-huh.
We do military credits, we do challenge exams.
Mhm.
We don't do portfolios much, but there's a little bit of work being done in the art and design area around
Okay.
portfolios, but there's a whole state committee that has come up with the standards for that,
Mhm.
and then the collecting of the data.
And some of that work we've done for years and years,
Mhm.
but the expansions, everything Cindy is mentioned is
Yeah.
part of that.
Wonderful, thank you for, because I knew it like in a narrow scope, so that's nice to know.
I'll just zip through our last 2 co-requisite support courses. I know you'll be hearing more about that, but we're already doing that in writing and some in math. And those are helpful for the adult learners, as well as outreach to stopped out students. So they came for a while, they stopped out. So we've got a number of ways that we reach out to them, email, websites, video, et cetera, to help them feel encouraged to return and complete.
There's a whole other long continued list of activities that we currently do that were recommended as best practices, right? So college and universities across the country for years, and many still do, hold back transcripts, which prevent students from transferring or coming back to your institution if you owe a debt. COCC has removed that, so at least they have that in most of the schools in the state, that transfer mobility throughout the state. Common course numbering, you've heard a lot about that in the last couple of years. Major transfer modules, which are smaller packages as courses to transfer to a college or university without the full credential. Basic needs support, we've certainly talked about that here. And then continue looking for grant opportunities to attract specialty populations, including adult learners. And because all of these, there's a couple other random ones that were on the list of best practices to do, but because so many of these, the vast majority COCC is already doing, our recommendation to Greg will be, assuming we keep moving this direction in the coming year, is to sunset this as an action project, right? Because it's so integrated in the strategic scheduling, it's integrated into some specific goals that admissions, records, financial aid, and academic advising have. All of this work is so within our internal operational structure, it doesn't need to be called out as a special or a strategic project in and of itself. As we look across all of our projects, right? And this answers, I think Joe has had this question of like, when do we know to wrap up a project? Right, this is a great example. Strategic scheduling is another one where it's become integrated in institutional operations. We don't need necessarily a special work group to keep it moving.
Excellent.
There you go, student ready college, for that goal area for our start of year 3 updates. Questions?
I have a adult learner question. Is there a discipline that we're seeing more adult learners move towards? Business management or?
More learners move towards.
Yeah, they built the strip alignment.
Business is always very popular.
Okay.
Health careers is probably
Okay.
one of our greatest population of students.
Aviation is another one because most of those folks are veterans, right, coming out of the military.
And that would be transportation and industrial trades.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. So next up on the agenda, we have new business. We have the Facilities Master Planning Consultant Project. Michael? Josh?
I think Josh is there to present it.
Okay.
All right, for consideration, per COCC policy, the Facilities Master Plan Committee, a strategic plan action committee under the direction of Michael Lawn, is requesting board director approval to proceed with the Facilities Master Planning consultant project. The Facilities Master Planning Committee has issued an RFP for master planning consultant services and has received proposals from OPSIS Architecture, Malum Architecture, and Steel and Associates. The committee carefully evaluated the proposals, conducted an in-person interview, and unanimously concluded that the proposal provided by Malum Architecture was the best value for the college. The board is asked to consider the approval of the Facilities Master Planning Committee to proceed with utilization of existing funds of $297,500 toward an updated facilities master plan. The board, the current facilities master plan expires in 2028. A new comprehensive and detailed master plan covering a 5-year planning horizon is needed starting in 2027. The plan includes a high-level outline for an additional 5-year period ending in 2037, providing strategic direction and flexibility to guide longer-term decision-making. Timing, following the board approval, an architecture services contract will be sent to Malum Architecture, followed by a 4-phase project scheduled to start in November 2025 and concluding in October 2026. The existing budget will be used out of the capital projects budget. And we'll turn it over to you for resolution and questions, of course.
Yes. Any questions for Josh?
Not too much of a question, but I do just want to raise one small thing with the cut that we're expecting from the state. Do we need to look at what does that mean for approval? I think this contract should be approved tonight, no questions about it, absolutely 100%. But it just makes me wonder a little bit about approving large budget items when we don't have a clear picture and it's tougher and tougher, and we've got a nice cushion, but it's dwindled a little from decisions we've made, and just feeling just a little nervous about making big decisions without fully understanding the environment.
Absolutely. I'll have my thoughts, but for you first.
Oh, go ahead, Greg. Sorry.
Please. I was going to defer to you. That's perfect.
Oh, you were? Okay. Well, that is a great question. And we do have some work to do at the VP meeting to determine what we can spend money and what we can't spend money on. The critical part of this project is that we are preparing for the long-term plan of the college, including money that we can ask for from HEC in 2027. So we have to be really clear about what we want to ask HEC for. And if we're clear about it, then I think it's more likely that they would approve funding for capital projects that they would match if we have the money available to match whatever they provide, which could be as much as 12 million. In addition, our GO bonds will be paid off in 2030, in the summer of 2030. And again, we will have to have a plan on how money would be spent if we decide to go to the voters again and approve another GO bond. So it's just not this program, but there's a number of steps afterward that are really critical for the college's success in the future and to upgrade all of our facilities.
Totally.
Yeah, what he said.
It's really money well spent.
Yeah.
I mean, of a lot of the things we do for us to figure out how we're moving forward long-term and to be able to engage with it at the appropriate times, we could save more money than we're spending.
I've been through studies like this and they identify efficiencies, they identify savings, they identify times of the year that you should implement things to gain savings. That's just a path that just clarifies where you need to be. And probably there's considerations also, for, you know, where our money's gonna be
Yeah.
a year to 5 years.
Help make some of these
Yeah.
other decisions.
I think it's an absolutely great idea.
But I think you make a really good point, and Michael, it might be a good idea to note to the group that we're working with that, of course, financial savings and efficiencies are higher on the priority list than maybe when we started. So that might be a nice way that we ensure that we're taking that into consideration.
Got it.
Well, with that, I would make a motion to be it resolved that the Central Oregon Community College Board of Directors approves the use of existing capital project funds toward the development of a facilities master plan developed by Malin Architecture.
Second. Okay, you moved and seconded. Any other questions or comments? All right, all those in favor, please say aye or raise your hand or both.
Aye.
Okay. And none opposed, so motion passes. Okay, so now we're going to adjourn to the contract review board meeting. Okay, so now we're in the contract review board. Welcome, everybody. Do we have any public comment and testimony?
No public comment.
Okay, thank you. And then now we'll consider approving findings in support of exemption from competitive bidding for the Redmond campus remodel. So, all right, welcome back.
I'm back.
Welcome to this board meeting.
Yes, I'm gonna do this one a little more off the cuff. We heard about this last month. We didn't have our findings of fact notice out to the public at that time, which we have now had. It is closed. There's no public comment or request. And so the purpose of this, a construction manager general contractor contract per Oregon DAS law requires a finding of fact. And so we've gone through that. We've identified that it is in the best interest of COCC to go the CMGC route. Will actually save money and accelerate the schedule of this project by going that route. This particular project requires that because the Redmond Building 3 original construction was pre-manufactured steel. And the only way to get a pre-manufactured steel expansion is to have a contractor already on your design team. The companies that build those won't even give you any plans for those. So we're kind of held to that if we're gonna move forward with this project. So, and so this is basically, you know, and the option analysis is authorize President Pereira or his designee to move forward with the resolution to exempt the Redmond Building 3 expansion project from the competitive bid process, which would be the normal bid spec general contractor process, and instead use an alternate contracting method consisting of a request for proposal for the selection of a CMGC. Any questions?
It's more curiosity, but like precedent, is this common for us to do this?
This is actually
Or
almost
uncommon?
the most standard way of doing construction now.
Okay,
It's just Oregon law hasn't
it.
caught up to that.
got it. Makes
Yeah.
good sense. Thank you.
So when they built the jail, they used one.
Mhm.
Probably when they did the courthouse, they used one.
Madras Building 2 is using one. Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
So that was you basically, I could so move what you just said, and that would be the proposal.
Yeah.
Also move that.
Second,
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded. Any other questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye or raise your hand or both.
Aye.
Motion passes, none are opposed. Okay, thank you. And so now we're going to adjourn to the regular board meeting, and now we're here. Okay. So, we have the Board of Directors operations. Who would like to start? Alan?
Go that side,
Oh,
because
but that's.
you might tell me something I didn't think.
we have.
Oh,
the
we're
second
skipping
reading
that.
first.
Okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah, that's good.
Okay. Recommended changes to the advocacy committee charge, second reading.
We
Okay.
discussed this,
Yeah.
pretty thoroughly
last
I
time.
don't think there were changes.
Just
So-
reading.
Yeah. All right, so we will vote on it this time, since it is the second reading.
Okay.
Is it a formal resolution?
Well,
We just don't have, we don't have it.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Yeah, I don't know that.
The question, Paul, is just whether we need a formal resolution on this after the second reading here to formally adopt the changes to the advocacy committee charge.
I don't know, but it can't hurt you.
It can't hurt.
No one's gonna
to do
come
it.
back and tell you.
Paul, I thought we needed to for the second reading. We didn't do it for the first reading. I think we have to for the second.
Okay,
Okay,
My guess is you do.
let's do it.
okay.
And it's not gonna hurt us.
No.
Okay.
So Erica, may I make a motion to approve the amended charge?
Yes, you may.
Second.
Okay. This is very good, yes.
explain what we just did. I'm confused.
We have the second reading of the charge for the advocacy committee. We didn't have any questions or comments for it, so we're doing a formal motion
Oh,
to
okay,
approve it.
okay.
Just these minor changes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the motion is to approve it.
Page 72.
Yes, so it's been moved and seconded. Any other questions or comments? Okay. All those in favor, please say aye or raise your hand or both. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so none opposed and motion passes. Okay. Committee updates, because we are following the agenda, not skipping past things. Thank you. First up, we have the advocacy committee.
Yes, I think the best use of our time right now today would just be to share some of the goals that the committee has put on the table for your input or any reflections. And we'll meet again at the end of October, where I think we'll refine these a little bit. They
Yes.
might be a little bit ambitious at the moment. Down to just some clear objectives and goals for the year. But there are 5 goals that we've put on the table, and they are crossover from, just advocacy to outreach to kind of a blend of the 2 priorities there. And the first is that we hope to bring especially state level leaders, elected leaders to campus for tours, to learn here on campus, to meet with Greg, to see the facilities themselves and hear our talking points around what's needed here. The second is to provide some degree of advocacy training to members of the board so that we're all a little bit more prepared to participate and evaluate questions around advocacy. And there are a few options for this, but Erica also mentioned the possibility of media training too, which might dovetail with this, especially around outreach. We're still maybe talking this over a bit internally. But there are advocacy training materials provided by OCCA that we could send you all and you could just watch on your own time. Their other alternative would be to have someone come and present to us on either advocacy training in a work session or on media training in a work session. So those are just a few of the things, but we want to just get a little bit sharper around these issues as for board members. The third is doing having deeper discussions around evaluating, selecting, developing materials for priority issues, toolkits, and these are the kinds of things that will be provided to us in some cases by OCCA or ACCT or with Lucas's help. But for us to more deeply evaluate policy issues and the way we want to engage on them and the materials we might want to use is the next step for the committee. And the fourth potential goal is that we want to be realistic about our outreach efforts this year that we're still building, and that a focus area for this year could be students, and in engaging them in our meetings and in being in the places that they are. And then lastly is creating a playbook for an annual calendar for the advocacy committee, which I think is starting to come together and was a recommendation from Greg, and I think we could probably make that happen no matter what. Yeah.
I have a couple more thoughts.
Yeah, please.
One is, we're talking legislature in the state, how do we engage with them, but we should also be thinking about our local community and how we're advocating for COCC through them, through the different things that are going. Because we can build up a lot of support by getting more people on board that are here. And then we have legislative days coming up for 3 times, I think, for the rest of the year. And if we could get a group of students together who, you know, like, hey, they're interested in engaging or starting to learn more about what's going on in Salem. There are those kind of things that are happening that if we could get a group of students together, they could then watch and learn and discuss.
Yeah. Alan, when you talk about thinking about our local community and being involved in issues that affect COCC or our students, what kinds of things are you thinking of?
Well, I just said it. I'm not sure I know exactly what I said.
Housing, transportation, and are you thinking of?
Well, I'm just thinking of outreach. You know, we do a lot, you know, there's a lot of things happening. We sponsor a lot of things. So maybe a part of it is like, we sponsor, different programs. I can't think of their names right now that people go to and they. Leadership, yeah, that we make sure that we have a good presentation to really kind of say, here we are and how we can help you, that kind of thing.
And I think some of that activity happens, right? I know Lori would present or at least attend fairly regularly, and I imagine you collaborate with, yeah, marketing team on messaging and stuff, but point taken, maybe a clarity on what all of that activity looks like and maybe identify some gaps.
Maybe it's just a review to start with.
Yeah.
To see where we're at and then go, okay, here's what we
Yeah.
might be missing.
Yeah.
Yeah, review of the presence, yeah, in these spaces, yeah. Okay. Wonderful. Jim, any thoughts on this stuff? Sound kind of in the wheelhouse and, okay. Great. Well, we will come back to the November meeting with a bit more of a kind of a firmer plan for you to review and approve.
Do we have a budget?
Do we have a budget?
Oh, what does that mean?
I love.
Well, I mean, we have some money to spend. Let's just say we knew there were some legislators coming to go play golf here in Central Oregon. And we wanted to give them a hotel room for 1 day so that they could add it. Huh? What?
Yeah, it would be.
I don't know.
I'm not sure we could do that, but I think, I don't think a lot of our activities require money. I think it's a lot of human resources, yeah.
But I'm gonna put that on the list.
It doesn't have to be big, you know, it's just a little money.
Some, yeah, ability to be, yeah, together with folks, good conversation topic, put it on there.
And maybe it's an ask of the foundation, not the college, because there might be less rules. Okay.
Nice. Okay, great, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Real estate committee, Joe, did you join?
He had issued it, or he had put a comment in the chat earlier that he was gonna join for a little bit and then had to off, so.
Yeah, I don't know if he can speak very well anyway, so I think what we'll do, do we have another member of the real estate committee who feels they can give an update?
Jim?
Okay, it's, no, your voice is so loud in here, Laura, it's like.
Well, and you know, I don't have an inside voice anyway.
Well, the microphone has these 2 cameras on it, so it's like eyeballs staring at me, then you yell at me.
Yeah, it's coming out of the
Yeah.
owl instead of out of the ceiling.
Yeah, things are going well. We're still in negotiation phase with Redmond on that north piece of property. I can't talk a lot about that because of it. We've had some good news on the development around William Smith properties. Again, I don't have those notes in front of me.
I just let me say hello because I was there too. everything's being built out, everything's being occupied. We're moving forward with good things to say that they're successful projects.
Yes, even though there is a high vacancy rate right now in new apartments in Bend, we're filling. It's coming up very quickly. We're getting ready to offer a second set of properties, not properties, help me, lots, second set of lots in the section that sits on the southwest side. What's the name of it? I can't remember the name of it. I'm sorry.
Greg was there.
Outcrop.
Thank you.
Phase 2.
But it's rolling along nicely, considering, the market is a little, the interest rates have kept the market a little stagnated. But it's rolling along very, very nicely.
Right.
And they've got great ideas they're bringing forward for us to consider. So
Yeah.
good things to come.
Yeah, it isn't dormant. They're constantly bringing new ideas, or exploring new marketing for some of the other areas. It's just, they're doing a very impressive job. They just are.
In short, the real estate committee is doing epic stuff.
Well said.
Okay.
It's hard to move from there, right?
Okay, so now we've made it. And we are going in order, and now we are to the part where we do board member activities. So thank you, everybody, for your patience with me. I'm bouncing around.
All right, good job.
I was at the real estate committee and I don't think I remember anything else that I did in the last month.
So, well, it was the important things. We needed the update tonight, so.
Yeah, epic.
Yes.
Great. We had our last board meeting around September 10, I believe. On September 11, visited joined the COCC Foundation retreat in Madras. And we got to take a tour of the Madras campus expansion, and it was really cool. It's really beautiful, and it was fun to see it in that state where you still see kind of inside the walls, but it's framed in, and yeah, it was really special. The next day we had our advocacy committee meeting, and then on September 30th, I attended the Feast of the Old Mouth, and it was really great. Did you go? I did go. I didn't have to miss you. Oh, yeah, it was really wonderful. Yeah.
I saw you near the oysters. Yeah.
Oh, yes, the oysters were delicious. Had a nice chat. Yeah, it was a great event. Wonderful student speaker. She did a really nice job. Yeah.
Right, Erin.
Okay.
Yeah.
On September 12th, I attended the advocacy committee meeting. On September 26th, I met with Greg. On September 30th, I attended Feast. On October 2nd, I attended the Chandler Lecture Series kickoff event. A nature photographer at the tower who showed her beautiful work, and she has just really incredible stories to share. It was a great event, so kudos to that team. It was a packed house. On October 3rd, I attended the OCCA board meeting. I sent 3 resources via email earlier today, so please take a look at those. It's their 25-26 calendar, the state of the association, and then the end of the legislative session summary. And just a quick update, nothing like, just one thing I wanted to share, just so we're all kind of aware of activity around the state, similar to the BSN. There was a cohort of colleges who have put a proposal together for a bachelor's in education. I think it's elementary ed, maybe specifically, or maybe it's just education. So there's some contention there in opposition from the 4 years, which is typical, but it's at HEC under consideration. So I just want you to all be aware of that activity in the state. I participated in Week Without Driving. For 2.5 days, I carpooled to work, and the half day is because I picked up hitchhikers on my way home from work.
Oh.
And I'm counting it. Because people were in the car with me, and they were two very, picked them up from Tumalo. They were staying at Tumalo State Park. across from my office, and they were two lovely geology students from Whitman. They wanted to go to Gear Fix, and I felt like held a show. It was the universe as a geology professor. It was the universe telling me I needed more people in my car. And so I picked them up and they were lovely and grateful.
Story. He would love that.
Yes, I'll let him know. And then I'm intending to attend the author event with Aiden Thomas on October 14th and hopefully the Redmond News and Brews event on October 29th. That's my update.
All right.
I met with Erica and Greg on the phone meetings on 12th, 19th, and 26th of that.
Yep, and the 1st and the 3rd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
First, third, thanks.
Yeah.
And the real estate meeting on the 1st.
Thank you, Jim. Laura?
So on the 1st, I had a call with Greg and Michael. On the 1st, I had the real estate committee, and I had another call with Michael, but I can't find my date. And then the week without driving, I too carpooled. I carpooled 2 days. I worked from home 1 day, and then I went out of town for 2 days. So I would call that a quasi success. But it was, I think it was a really good exercise to think about it and to think about people who don't have the ability to just hop in a car and get it fixed if they need to and put gas in it when you need it. So anyway, my kudos to Hal for encouraging us to do that. It was a really good learning experience for me and something I'm gonna try to do a little bit more of. So that's all for me.
Thank you, Laura. I have the same calls that Jim said with Greg. And the advocacy committee on the 12th, and then the feast at the Old Mill on the 30th. So.
Oh, Erica, I forgot to say I went to the Wispy welcome for Greg. Wasn't that this month?
I thought that was last time.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Well, it was so cool. It's worth mentioning again.
Yeah.
It was great seeing you.
Okay, great. Anything else to add before we move on?
I just wanted to say congratulations to Alicia on the trio grant.
Yeah.
Oh,
you.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Very
it's
excited.
just-
Andrew gets to know
Good.
a bit, so.
Good.
It's
Yeah,
really
it's so exciting.
Congratulations.
Mhm.
Yep.
Great. So now we have the president's report.
So we got a trio grade. As you know from the updates, it's great news. And I know I so appreciate you saying it. And I do want to acknowledge Alicia because I know this has been something she's worked on for 10+ years. So to see it come to fruition is a huge win for our students and a big achievement. So that was great to see. I also wanted to thank you all for participating in a week without driving. It's very cool to hear some of your stories and engagement with it. And yeah, it was a good experience. So I didn't pick up any hitchhikers, but maybe next year. So Michael shared briefly about the potential budget cuts. I want to talk about that real briefly. We had been signaled from HEC that this could be coming. They told us potentially 5 to 10%, most likely 5%. It was a surprise this morning in that the email clarified it is not a straight 5% that would be coming to each college. It would be 5% total that the state would not be funneling to the community colleges, and we don't get an equal amount. So the state has this equalization model. You may have heard of this before, where essentially colleges that get more county tax dollars get less state dollars. So it equals out. So the higher your tax revenue, the less you get from the state. So they're using that same principle in these cuts. So if a college, I don't know, was 75% funded by the state and got a 5% cut, it would be devastating. So they're trying to proportionately cut in the same way. So since COCC had a larger county tax base, we would take a larger cut, which is actually a 13% cut in the funds we currently receive from the state. So that went from a $600,000 projection that I was thinking as of Monday to 1.5 million as of this moment. We are being asked to provide information as to what those cuts would mean, and the answer is they would devastate us and it would have a huge impact, and we are going to do everything in our power to fight that, to advocate, to get in front of the right people, to hopefully avoid it. And yet it is a real possibility that we seem to continue to hear from multiple entities at the state, and a lot of it is the state projects massive funding shortfall, which you all are aware of. So that was a surprise today, but we're gonna work on it, and we'll continue to keep everyone informed on that.
Greg, I misspoke earlier. I'm sorry about that, but I said 1.5 million over the biennium, but it's actually 1.5 million this year when I look back at the numbers. So I just wanted to clarify.
It's massive.
Mhm.
It's massive. So we're gonna do everything in our power to advocate against that. That's priority one.
Mhm.
And priority two is, of course, do everything we can to protect the institution, students, staff. We'll take it very seriously. In the good news department, because let's have some good news too. Enrollment is up 3%, which is great. A lot of colleges are down or flat, so that's really good to see. When we include college now, it actually goes up to about 6%. So that's really good overall and a lot of community engagement. One of the things we're really working on this year is increased communication. That was a message I heard from the board as part of the hiring process, that we wanted to see more engagement and communication. So yesterday we held our first, we're calling it a Let's Chat event, where it was an open meeting where I answered questions, and we did it live and online. Lucas was really helpful in that. I think we had combined, Lucas, 150-ish people?
Like 76, I think I saw online, and then
Online.
the full house.
And a full house in person, 150, which was great. So people asked a lot of questions. There was good engagement, and feedback I've heard has been really good. So that's great. Next week, we start a new campaign. I know Amy Metcalf on Luke's team is leading in that, which is we also want to have more engagement with students. So we're going to do a social media campaign. They're calling Ask Dr. P, which I've never been called that before in my life, but the students liked that. So students will be asking questions and we'll be answering them on social media. So stay tuned. It'll be a fun way to engage. We think, I don't know. So
Hey, now's the time to change that if you want to be called something else.
that's it fits right in, doesn't it?
Is Pereira, what is it? Why? Is it too hard to say, or?
What Amy told me yesterday, and Lucas might know more. So, I'm like, well, Greg is fine, or, and the students thought that it should be doctor. They thought that was more fun. They thought president was too formal, and they didn't like Dr. Pereira, probably because they were afraid of mispronouncing it. Scott and I can bond. So that's what they came up. So I said, great, sure, whatever. So we're gonna do a new way of engaging, and hopefully it's hard to catch students because they're in class and things like that. So hopefully social media creates a way that we can have more engagement. So fun idea.
Yeah.
Excited to give that a try. And then finally, I was going to highlight some events, but boy, I don't want to leave any off because they're all great and important. There are 19 in your packet.
Yes.
I encourage you to look at all of them. They are all excellent. That was a lot of work. Thank you, Kai.
Don't you want to cut these? Like, no, keep them all. So.
Yeah, I think it's good.
And thank you, Kyle, for compiling. That was great.
I do want to mention in this list, because it is a great list, that the OCCA, if you want the early bird rate, is Friday, if you'd like to go. So please let them know. And it's in Hood River. And the Thursday is the long day. And Friday is just a morning, so if you just want to go over for the day, that's.
Is anyone, are you going?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm gonna go.
Yeah, I'm gonna go too.
I was told by some folks today that the hotel block is pretty full.
The block's sold out, but I can check if there's still rooms available. We'll just have to pay more rooms.
So if it works and you'd like to go, it's always good to go and. So this is my kid's bedtime. Yeah. I'm starting to get sleepy now. Yeah, if you like to go, it's the Oregon Community College Association Conference. So you'll meet many other board members from other colleges and presidents, and the presentations are from within Oregon. So that's always interesting, especially to go to presentations that are COCC staff and faculty put on. So I've actually learned by going to those at various years about things that I didn't know. So yeah, that's good. Okay. Okay, so that's it. Does anyone have any questions, comments about the list or anything else for Greg with his report? Okay. And thank you again to Lapine High School for hosting us another year. And I think we will adjourn.
Bye.
Thank you.
That's it.